Hey guys, and welcome back to the Natty scene. We are three today. We are joined by Ben Lloyd, who is not only a friend of ours, but also the latest, pretty much, WNBF Pro from the UK DFBA finals. Probably the hardest way you can win your WNBF Pro card is to take the overall at the British. And he managed to overcome some very tough competition at that show as well. So he's had an incredibly successful year. He's already a DFAC Pro as well. So that's the sort of the pro affiliation with the BNBF. So he is one of very few that shares both professional status. And that's probably something we'll get into as well in this podcast about sort of like where your goals are to compete in the future and things like that. But yeah, Ben, first of all, like, thanks very much for coming on.
No problem.
Massively appreciate it. This is Ben's first podcast as well, guys. So if anyone's listening to this and thinking about getting Ben on your podcast, and you should, because Ben should be talked about a little bit more often. He's probably, well, he is pretty much one of the best UK natural bodybuilders out there. So he needs to be talked about a little bit more. So yeah, overall, let's start with your sort of a little bit of introduction to yourself, mate. So talk a bit about, your background, what got you into bodybuilding, and just sort of bring us up to date from sort of when you were younger up till sort of now. Take us through sort of your journey a little bit.
Well, I've been training since I was about 18. Never took it really that seriously. Competed for the first time when I was 32, so left it quite a long time. But I got a fair bit of muscle maturity, I'd say, in that time at least. I'm a personal trainer, an online coach as well. I live at home with Brogan. I've got a little dog and a little hairless cat.
Yeah, that cat.
Yeah, that is horrible.
Horrendous. Like, I remember you saying that you were getting that. I was like, fucking hell, what the hell are you doing, man? Bad option. Oh, have we got?
Well, it's when I were prepping. Obviously, it puts a bit of strain on your relationship. And just to keep my missus happy, I just decided to get the hairless cat.
Oh, perfect. I think, Ben, we've got you on a stool on the video. Is there any chance you can? Is it stalling your end, George, as well?
No, it's yeah, it is. Sorry, yeah, sorry.
It's frozen.
Yeah.
Ben, could you stop and restart your video? I don't know why it's frozen. Oh, there you go. I think it's.
Oh, he's back. There he is.
I think you're back. That's good. We got Ben back.
Yeah. What?
Oh.
Yeah. Connection is not good.
Breaking up.
The connection is low, Ben. Is anyone else using the internet?
Everyone has to get up in there.
Shall I go and have a word with you? We could maybe start again. I told her, I said, don't be sending any messages to your mates.
Oh. This is fine. This is fine, mate. Like, people understand that I can crop this bit anyway if I need to. It's very easy to edit. But is anyone else on the internet? Like, is Brogan playing like PS4 or something?
She's always on her phone, WhatsApping. I could go and ask her just to stay off it for a while.
Fucking messaging your friends.
You can't message. You can't look at your phone, touch your phone, nothing.
Just sit still and listen to the podcast for an hour.
Shall I go ask her just to say?
It should be okay, mate. It seems to be clearing up now, so it's maybe just like, poor weather and things like that outside affecting it, but it should be all right.
Right.
So, yeah, we essentially got up to the point of like when you started competing at like age 32. So like before that, what were you doing? Like, were you into training? I know you have a pretty interesting background with your dad as well. So maybe just sort of discuss that. Like, what were you doing when you were younger, and what sort of maybe sparked your passion for competing in sport?
Well, I've always liked sports. I was never that good at them. Obviously, my dad was a cricketer. Bumble, he's known as, David Lloyd. Didn't really follow in the footsteps of my family. My brother played for England, and obviously my dad played for England. But I give it a go, weren't that good. Used to play a bit of football at semi-pro level. It was all right. I looked the part as a bodybuilder, but they found me out quite early that I weren't actually that good. But I always kept the gym consistent. I just like the gym because it's like you against you. There's not much pressure on you. until you actually compete, that's where there's a bit of competition. But for me, I never used to like competition too much, to be honest. The fear of failure, the fear of losing I used to be scared of that. So, yeah, just competing for the first time. I did get nervous. I always do get nervous with shows. But after what's happened, shall I go ask her just to say it? But I get nervous with the shows.
Yeah.
But after that first one, it's not too bad, actually.
Yeah,
we're still lagging.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like it seems to be at the end of when you stop talking. Maybe it is worth just like if she's using anything that demands a lot of internet, just asking maybe.
Yeah, I'll just go have a chat.
Cool. So yeah, we got up to the point essentially where you're talking about your first show, competing. So I know what sort of happened in your first prep. I followed your first prep very closely. I know you worked with one of my friends at the time. I haven't been in contact with him in a long time, but I know that you worked with him. So talk us through a little bit about your first prep. How did you come to the point in your training where you thought, I want to compete? And then just sort of walk us through a little bit of how that prep went, and what you ended up doing.
Well, one of the main reasons why I wanted to compete was to learn a bit more about dieting. I always struggled. Like I was a personal trainer. I used to tell people stupid things like avoid sugar, no carbs after 7, just usual like bro style tips. I was following Ant Sidrick, my first coach, and he documented his prep on YouTube, and he was eating like bags of crisps before he trained and chocolate, and he actually won his show. So I just thought, well, he knows something. I want to tap into what he knows. So I contacted him. He taught me about flexible dieting, and as soon as I learned that, I just thought, eureka, this is great. And I was hitting my macros with all sorts of junk food that year. But it were good. I got a decent physique.
Yeah, you did.
But I got really lean, but I'd say I did over diet. My starting position wasn't great. But yeah, I learned a lot that year, but did it differently this year, really. Just a lot more clean eating. Yeah. Even though I had meringues most of the time for the early part of my prep, post-workout. It was very much like a meal plan that I followed this time. But you're a very good coach, and taught me like flexible dieting, which were a breakthrough for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, that helped you build your own business as well and help more people and give them better advice than you'd been giving them in the past, which is, I think, a lot of the reason why people should work with a coach is that it builds that sort of fundamental understanding of, caloric balance, energy expenditure, all of these initial things that sometimes, as athletes, even people who have trained for multiple years, still don't really realize, what's going on with these basic sort of things. So with your first shows, where did you compete? How did you do? Because you had a pretty fucking successful year for a first time competitor. So talk us through that.
So my first show was the BNBF Northern show. I entered as a novice, ended up winning the overall there, which were beyond my expectations. I were hoping for a top 3 just to finish it. Just to get to the British finals and to get the overall were just really good. Didn't expect it. I went with a couple of guys locally. One competes every year. Most years, he's called Chris Burns. So he helped me a lot, especially with my posing routine. Yep. So I watched them the year before, where James Poyner won the overall. And his physique really stood out. And I just thought, for Ben, I'm going to have to really knuckle down to beat people like that. But just watching it just give me confidence that I could compete, just watching a natural show, because you just assume that everyone's going to be like freaks of nature, but natural bodybuilding's attainable for a lot of people. And it gave me confidence. So I just sat there thinking, I could do this, I could give it a go. So that were another reason why I competed.
Sure.
And then obviously I qualified for the finals. As a novice. So I entered the novice category at the British finals up against some good opposition, and I managed to win that as well, and went to the world finals. And I wanted to become a world novice champion, but when I got there, they said there's not enough novices. Yeah, so I'm a bit gutted. I remember ringing home saying, if I'd have known that, I probably wouldn't have come, because I wanted just to call myself a world champion, and I think I had more chance of doing it if it were up against the novices.
Sure.
But they put me up against the heavyweight men. So there were some really good bodybuilders there, like Ali Stewart, Adrian Simpson, Theo Golab.
Oh wow!
I managed to win the overall there, so really good year.
Yeah, that's meant. Yeah, and then I mean that for you must have been, for a first-time competitor, quite overwhelming to be able to go from being a novice at your first show to then obviously, not only winning the novice British title, which is an illustrious title in itself, but also to then get a pro card in your first season. Like, how did you feel when you sort of ended that season? Did you feel like, I've now sort of like, not apart from obviously competing in other federations, which we'll talk about, but did you feel like maybe getting a pro card that quick brought some negatives as well as positives?
I were over the moon. I remember just walking around Miami just on cloud 9. Looking back at the pictures, I think I was very lucky. I was very lean, but like compared to my physique this year, it was just much better this year. My food strategy after the show wasn't good. It's not been great this time either, but in Miami, I just went for it. I just had no control post-show. I gained, I think, 21 kilogram in 6 weeks.
Whoa.
Fucking hell.
Enjoyed it. It was really good food. I mean,
That's
Whole
good going.
Foods in Miami is just, I was there 2 or 3 times a day.
All right.
But yeah, looking back, it was like a bad time, really. Just like some bad feelings about it. But obviously, just really happy that I won the overall.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, like George's experience this year, it's a very difficult phase post-show. And, unless you have, obviously, I think by that point, I think something had gone on, you weren't with Ant or anything like that. So I don't think you had the post-show support, did you?
No, but I had another coach,
yes, you
Dawn
did.
Roberts. Yeah, and she
was an American coach that you had at that point.
Well, Dawn Roberts is local, but she works for Joe Klumzetsky, and he did my peak week plan. So and he is a good one, isn't he? So he knows his stuff.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
and I've got it on my phone that peak week, and it was a progressive load. I was just following it. Did my own thing a little bit, but got some advice from one of the best coaches around, really. There.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out, and well, I shouldn't say I didn't pay anything either, so she just helped me for free, which is really handy.
Nice.
And she had good affiliation as well, so she got me in contact with a posing coach.
Okay.
Which was really handy.
Yeah, for sure. So, George, do you have topics that you want to go down? Like, I feel like
I want to. Yeah, you're next. Let's go into this year's prep because, of course, the first time I saw you was at the was it UK DFBA Northerns, and I was like literally blown away. I was like, "Fuck! Like this is good." In terms of like your best, because I've seen you at the finals as well this year. What was your best package year in your opinion?
When did I look best? Sorry, did you say?
Yeah. When did you look best?
I'd say the British finals. I held condition for a long time. Not much change really throughout. But definitely the British finals, whether the pictures on stage were better because they were really good light pictures, really good stage lighting at the finals. But yeah, I'd say around then, and then I started to just decline a little bit. I had like a tired looking physique after the British finals just by holding condition for too long, I think.
I think that was very similar to me because I saw you at the Northern and you was absolutely shredded then. Because I love condition. When I see someone with straight glutes like yourself, like just crazy. How can I word this? How did you get there? Like, what does it take to get to that type of condition that you brought? Because I've not seen anyone with condition that you've brought. Honestly, I'm like a little fanboy here. I was literally blown away by it. What's the secret behind it?
Well, you did it yourself. I mean, it's just consistency, isn't it? It's just, I mean, I were a fanboy of yourself, so I was watching all your shows on YouTube and using that as a bit of guidance because I didn't have a coach and I were very much following you and AJ, just seeing the kind of thing that you two did. And I copied a lot of it, to be honest. I very much like copied AJ with I've got the same bed that he got. I got the same whisk. I got the oil diffuser. Everything he recommended on his store. I was like, I'm going to get that.
I just said I was muted, but I said, George, I said we're going to take credit for this. So I'm going to put WNBF Pro Maker in my bio now.
Fuck's sake.
Cool.
But yeah, it's just consistent. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to kind of know in terms of, because I've obviously followed you quite a lot in terms of your nutritional setup and stuff like that. So when you was dieting for your first show, was it the Northerns, the first show that you'd done this year?
Yeah.
What was kind of, did you dig really hard? Did you bring calories really low? Was it a case of you started, how long was your prep?
It were a long prep. So officially it was 42 weeks, but I was dieting without tracking and everything a good few weeks before that, because I got really big in the off season. Yeah. So I'd say it were over a year. But it was very slow progress. I was just chipping away at calories very gradually. Never really dipped below 3,000 calories. Didn't do any cardio. Well, I did about 800 calories worth of cardio early on, and then the rest of it were just steps. So I did that steps instead. Yeah,
for sure. And your nutritional setup, do you prioritize carbohydrates on a train day, fats on a non-train day, or was it a case of just calories in versus calories out at some point?
Well, again, like on non-training days, I dropped my carbs a little bit and increased my fat, very much like you and AJ used to do. So I just thought, well, I'll give that a try myself. From what I've heard, there's not much evidence supporting it, but it's a good way of getting them fats in, really, because otherwise it is hard to get your salmon and your oily meats in and things like that. And definitely helps. I mean, I look better this year than before, so I did something right. And I think that's one of the reasons why. Just higher calories. Like, I didn't go below 3,000. In 2016, I got down to about 2,300 calories at one point. So I really dug deep, but looking back, I did lose a lot of muscle as well.
And in terms of training, over the past couple of years, has it stayed the same? Is it very consistent, or have you been chopping and changing your splits, or you changing whilst you're in your off season to prep in terms of exercise selection, or has it just remained the same?
Well, I changed the exercises, but the actual split that I do hasn't changed much. And I got this off Ant Sidrick, my first ever coach. It was chest and arms, back and shoulders, legs. This year I swapped it to doing legs first, so my rest day was just before a leg session, so I had lots of energy. But I've stuck to that split throughout. I've tried push-pull legs. Didn't really like it too much. I like the back and shoulder workout because you're doing a push movement with a pull movement, giving you grip, chance to recover, and you get a good pump during the workout as well. So I'd say that's my favourite split, and it's still the same now. I'm still just doing legs, chest and arms, back and shoulders, rest day, and then I go again. And I didn't have any deloads or anything except for peak weeks. Maybe I should have done more deloads looking back.
Yeah, exact same as me, mate.
Yeah,
I didn't take. I dieted for 30 something weeks, and I didn't take one deload at all, which was stupid looking back at it. But it's very hard to do so when you're dieting. Like, when you take rest or when you go into deload sessions, I just feel, especially when you're on a contest prep, you should be pushing yourself every single day, and taking rest you should be doing that almost.
The opposite of what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't like it. I mean, obviously the peak weeks is when you have to do a deload, but I hated them peak weeks. I just felt lazy, just like getting to that point where you can normally just get one or two more and then just saying, oh, that'll do. Just felt really lethargic in the gym. Just no fun really to train like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
But you have to do it.
Yeah, of course. I watched quite a lot of your stuff on Instagram, and I noticed that movements were dropping off and things weren't going the way you to. In those situations, how did you deal with that? With my prep, I was very much, when I was dropping a fair bit of loading on some movements, it really did get to me. But in your situation, are you okay with that? Is that something you deal with quite well, because you know that when you regain a bit of body fat, things will be flying? How was your mindset throughout that phase?
I think because I did it in 2016, I knew what were going to happen, and I lost a lot of my strength early on in the prep, to be honest, especially on deadlift. That went down, and bench press. But by logging my scores, I did like hold on to my numbers for quite a long time. I think that's essential. That's another reason why I improved a lot this year. I was very meticulous with my logbook, writing down every single score. I was consistent with my rest periods. But yeah, I weren't too disheartened when I lost a bit of strength. And like I say, I held on to it for a good while with a logbook, so that definitely helped.
That was one of my biggest issues this year. Is obviously it was my first year of competing, and I've got lean before, but haven't got to the point of where I got to. And accepting that some movements might go ill was quite difficult for me. But I know now that to happen, and if I have to change exercises up to allow me to get what I need done, then I can do so. So yeah, I think that's important to understand. With like this year compared to your previous years, what have you changed much, or is it a case of you've just learned each and every time you've prepped all that knowledge that you've gained, you've put into one post?
Yeah, I'd say I implemented more knowledge. So I was listening to podcasts all the time, watching like your videos, everything, just absorbing info all the time and applying it when needed. And I think actually pushing my weight up in the off season really helped. I did overshoot it. I got to about 18 stone. I think I measured my body fat just on a bioelectrical impedance, and it was about 26%. And they say that's like too heavy. But for me, I was stronger than ever in the gym. It made for a long diet, so maybe next time I won't push weight up as much. But, you know, I did something right this year, and maybe pushing my weight up did help. And maybe next year I could look even better if I don't go too far and then have to diet for as long and potentially lose muscle.
Sure. So in the off seasons, what's your typical up from stage weight to peak of your off season?
Well, I'm measuring kilograms. I got up to 111 kilogram last time. So it were a dirty bulk. I didn't eat any food at the end. I was just making shakes that contained about 1,700 calories, and I was just necking them.
Mate, how was your
3 or 4 gulps.
How was your digestion?
It wasn't good. No. It wasn't good. So I was going.
Did you have a lot of like liquid diarrhea kind of symptoms?
Well, I was going to say I went to the supermarket a lot to get like the 24 pack of toilet rolls, and then during prep, I said to bro, we got it lasts us all year these now.
Yeah. Wow. I want to know a little bit more, of course, about your off season, as I'm going into mine now and you're going into yours. In terms of like training wise, I mean, with training, it's a case of, do you keep it very consistent, or are you willing to change stuff around, or are you having a focus on progressing your lifts? What's the kind of mindset in your off season that you have?
Well, I don't really change much, like with the exercises. I just do the same workout a lot, and I just try and beat every set, every exercise, just 1 rep at a time. And sometimes I just change it mid-set. I'll look at my logbook. I'll see that I've got, say, 8 reps on the chest press. I could try and get 9, but sometimes I'll just move up the weight and try and get 5 or 6. So I just make it up as I go sometimes, but I enjoy training that way. And like I say, I'm always looking to beat scores for every single set. And at the minute I am doing it, it's really good. Just every workout, strength's really going up. And I think it'll hopefully continue to as I push weight up.
I think that's one thing. Sorry, go on, AJ.
What about volume, Ben? Because I know that I've looked at your logbooks, and I've even replied to some of them, like asking you like why so much volume, and is this just something that you've done in the past in terms of like training splits that you've been given? Is it something you enjoy, or is it just out of the fact that in your head maybe you think sort of more is better in the gym? Like, what's your opinion? Because obviously, a higher volume is working for you. But yeah, what's your stance on volume?
Well, I made them workouts myself, and right now my volume's decreased a lot. At the time, I just felt like I could stay in the gym for a long time, and whatever I wrote down, I did it. But now I stop after like 2 sets. I think that'll do. Whereas before it were like 4 sets of most exercises, and especially with leg sessions.
Squats as well, like me. It's like
I used to I used to look at those 5 sets of squats and I was thinking, fuck, like that's a lot of work.
Keep done it.
Yes, but I just thought, yeah, that's what you had to do to. I mean, my legs were quite good this year, so I think it did work. But maybe less volume is better. It's just strange how I don't have as much energy to do it now, whereas I did when I was dieting. It's just like I get a bit lazy now for some reason. It's like that'll do. And when I were on prep, I was just like a bit of a machine. I'd just keep going and get all the sets done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
It
we all
keeps
like
out
that,
the
though.
kitchen as well, really. I mean, you just know that you're hungry, just stay away and just delay that meal, and then, just deal with the hunger.
I find myself, or I found myself in 2017. I'm not going to allow it to happen next year, but I found myself adding work to my total sort of volume amount, and George did the fucking same without even telling me, and then he did end up telling me some weeks. But it's like, adding an extra set or doing an extra exercise. Like sometimes I think we feel like this is going to, because we know that obviously if we're staying in the gym and we're doing extra total work, we are burning more calories. And I think a lot of the time we tend to think that burning more calories is a good thing when our goal in our head is this sort of elite level of conditioning. And I think sometimes, like, for the people that turn up soft, like, they probably need to encompass more of this mindset, because it actually works. Like, all 3 of us have got into true contest condition, and all 3 of us have added more work than we were supposed to do. So it's not like a recipe for success, because it shouldn't be, but it's something that I think a lot of competitors should take away, is that a lot of us are willing to go like that extra mile and do extra bits just because we're so obsessed with getting into shape. In terms of, like, George asked the question, obviously, like how you got into shape, and obviously the answer was consistency. I'm more interested in like, what do you find? Obviously you can be consistent, and you can be what you need to be in the gym with regards to holding on to lifts, but what do you find is the most difficult part of contest prep for yourself? What's the hardest bit?
Just dealing with the hunger and the lack of energy, especially like midway through the prep. I'd say that's when it were hardest for some reason. It should have been towards the end, but when I were kind of digging, middle of prep in middle of summer, it were really hard, just like using MyFitnessPal, obviously, as your food app, and just looking at your macros. And at first 7 weeks, I didn't struggle at all with hunger. And then you just finish a meal and just think, whoa, I'm still hungry now. And then slowly but surely that just keeps creeping up. It gets gradually worse. I did have a few like diet breaks, just like extended refeed days, but the refeeds were nowhere near as high as I did in 2016. I just used that as a bit of a free for all in 2016. I was going over 1,000 grams of carbs, just binging really on all sorts of sweets. And I think I've looked at MyFitnessPal once. I had like 600 grams of carbs in sugar form on one of my refeeds. So, but yeah, it's just the hunger is the worst, really. I mean, it never goes away. No one meal will fix it. It's just something you got to deal with, which isn't nice.
And as well with the hunger side of things, I know that you've also posted online quite openly about the fact that you do struggle with, not massively, but you have struggled in the past with binge eating and overeating and having a binge. And I know when we were backstage at Worlds, we had a little discussion as well with regards to, did I just break up at all, or am I okay?
You did a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I know when we were backstage at the Worlds as well, you had a little bit of an issue with the vending machine.
I didn't think you remember that, actually. Yeah.
No, I remember that, mate. I remember all the Worlds. It was so, like, with the sort of the overeating, how many events of that did you have during the prep, and what did you do? Because I'm imagining this is happening probably quite frequently with competitors. So, like, how did you deal with it after the binge, and what was your sort of next steps?
Well, it happened, I think, 3 times this prep where I just lost control. I finished my macros, went to bed, my mouth was drooling in bed. I was like, oh, I should have really saved a bigger meal before bed and just slept through it. But I just thought, that's it, I'm going in the kitchen. I'll just have one rice cake with a bit of honey on it. And that just opened the floodgates, and you'd end up just eating everything in cupboard, like all the meringues and all the carbs. I didn't go for fats though, so I didn't like completely lose control. It was like I turned it into a bit of a refeed. But yeah, 3 times lost control, and then the day after just got back on track as well as I could. Felt really horrible though. I remember thinking to myself, why'd I do that? Just for the feeling that I've got now. I feel like I let myself down, and it's like it wasn't worth the feeling. But yeah, just got back on track straight away. And at the World Finals, as you know, did the morning show, and I could tell I didn't do well. They never put me in the middle, and I was looking at people to give me feedback on how I did, and they weren't really looking at me in the eye. They weren't. I could tell I didn't do well, so I had some food in my bag. I started eating that. Then I ran out of the food in my bag and found a vending machine. There were a few vending machines at Worlds. Put $20 in it, give me a load of change back. So I just thought I might as well get rid of this change. So I spent about $20 on cereal bars and Pop-Tarts. I was camped out at the vending machine for about 10 minutes on a few occasions.
So during your prep, when you used to have those moments of binging, how would you compensate with that? Like the next couple of days, would you increase your output? Would you reduce your food, or would you just go straight back to what you originally was on in terms of output and nutrition?
Yeah, I just went straight back at it. I did my morning pauses like I normally did, and I was putting the pictures alongside each other, thinking, oh, look, I look fat, when really, I was never that fat. I was always really lean. I just err on the side of caution and go for conditioning a lot. And looking at my pictures, yeah, I might have spilled a little bit, but it were a good look still. So maybe I should have pushed up and had more refeeds, but not uncontrolled binges. So it's something I've got to really deal with. Just avoiding the cues and just a bit more self-control. I think, like I said, I've only done 2 competitive seasons. Still quite new to it. And that's a challenge for the next one, just not binge.
In terms of your rebound this year, has it been better than it has with your previous year? Because I know I've seen on your Instagram stories and stuff like that, you've been having the Dominoes, you've been having a fair few treats. Have you gone overboard this year, or has it been moderate, or have you controlled it really well?
Well, it's been better than 2016, and we keep meaning to go to Pizza Hut because you keep saying that pizza is better than Domino's. So I just thought, well, we've got to try Pizza Hut at some stage, but it's buy one, get one free at Domino's. So we've been getting that. I've said to Brogan that we can't keep doing this. But yeah, I've gained. So I were 98 kilogram this morning. My weight during prep were about 84 kilograms. So I'm about 14 kilo. Have I done right maths? Yeah, 14 kilogram up. Whereas before I gained like 21 kilogram. So it's better than before. And I have been careful. I mean, if I were to just go for it, I'd consume like 30,000 calories a day easy. If I were to track my diet at the minute, which I'm not doing, it'll be at least 6,000 calories. And I'm being careful, I really am. I'm still eating like a lot of the same meals that I had before, like oats. 3 or 4 times a day I'm having oats and baby rice, but just having the odd high-fat snack here and there as well. Yeah.
Do you ever get like me post, like I went for a phase of enjoying food with the missus, stuff like that. Then I kind of got bored of. Is that something that you do? Like with what you are doing right now, you kind of make the most of it with appetite being high and, you know, eat all the foods. And then you get to a point of where you think, actually, I'm getting quite bored now. I'm going to start tracking and being a bit more regimented, or does that never phase you before?
Well, I'm waiting for that to come, actually. I mean, my appetite's still through the roof. I remember, again, first year that I competed, I actually booked in at doctors because I gained all that weight and I was just so hungry. So I was really fat and still hungry still, and my hormones had just completely gone. So I went for blood checks and they said, yeah, your testosterone's really low. This time, like I say, I've seen a few people on social media say, oh, the off-season appetite's kicking in. It's definitely not done that with me yet. But yeah, I'm enjoying food. So I do like food, and I remember before, like when I was bulking, before I started the prep, I'd look at chocolate and leave it. I just wouldn't have it. So I'm hopefully trying to get to that point again where I could just take food or leave it. But at the minute, it's just very food focused and just hungry all the time.
Yeah, that was very similar to me. It started calming down a little bit about 9-10 weeks post show, but I used to, in the mornings, I used to turn over to my missus, what we did tonight, what are we doing this, what are we doing that. And it's just not a healthy way of doing things. Like, I just always thinking about food, and to the point of a little bit more bored and just wanted to just get on with what I needed to do almost. I think that comes with time for sure. Definitely.
It's hard though. I mean, once you've dieted for so long, like we have, just to continue dieting post show is a bit, I don't know, it's a bit grim. You think that you've hit your deadline and then I don't have to diet anymore. And the prospect of being hungry still post show, it's not good. So, you know, it's good. I think it's good to have a few treats, but it is the post show period, I'd say, is one of the hardest bits.
Yeah, for sure. And is it okay if we talk about, because I know that you're a family man. I know that you love spending time with the family. How was that like throughout your prep? Because something that I definitely struggled with is having a balance between, you know, spending time with the missus, kind of switching off. I could never switch off. I was always thinking about what I need to do next, whether it's steps, cardio, food. How are you good at managing that in the off season, in prep, sorry, or does it sacrifice a little bit and there's more arguments, more falling out, that type of stuff? How do you manage all of that side of things?
So yeah, you make a few sacrifices, as you know, doing prep, and you have to be very selfish. I'd say I took it to the extreme and I was super selfish. Luckily, I've got a really good partner that we're understanding, but she went through the prep just as much as me, and she couldn't wait for it to be over. Towards the end, I was a bit like, you know, I'm looking forward to just living a normal life again, because it was such a long diet. And, you know, luckily, like she looked after her daughter the most. So, yeah, we're very selfish. And again, just if I to do another prep, I need to like address that. And it's if she'll let me do another prep, because I said to her, if I do that again, if I come across like that again, then you can say stop it, you know, because I was snappy with everyone, literally, just a different personality. When you're lean, I'd go into the gym, not look at anyone, and if someone asked me, like, how many sets have you got on there, I'd be really off with them, you know. And today, just going into Asda, I said to Mrs., there were Santa Claus, Father Christmas, oh, Merry Christmas. And I went, oh, Merry Christmas. And if that was 6 weeks ago, obviously it wasn't Christmas 6 weeks ago. But if it was like 6 weeks ago, I'd just probably swore at him, just get lost.
Yeah, bar humbug.
Bar humbug,
Scrooge. Yeah.
But personality-wise, I just completely change. It's like I'm super happy when I've got a bit of body fat, but really a bit aggressive when I lose, for me, which is unheard of. I get a bit aggressive when my body fat's low.
I was in a situation where I wanted to be left alone. Like, I got to the point of eating food. I wanted to be alone, cooking my food. If anyone interrupted me, just leave me alone. Like, I'm trying to make sure that this food is perfect. And you don't really realize that until you kind of take a step backwards and kind of realize what, like, you're like, I would literally not sit with my parents at all. I'd just watch YouTube videos and eat my food. And I was just, it makes you realize when you're a lot more healthier and when you've gained a little bit of body weight, how much prep or being lean does change you.
I remember one instance having my baby rice, and I go into the kitchen. I used to go into the kitchen and just like shut the doors, just no distractions. But before that, I was just eating my baby rice with my partner, and she started talking to me, and I went one snapped. I just said, when I'm eating, can you just let me enjoy my food? And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, it's definitely true. Like you say, you just, act very territorial with your food. It's like a dog guarding its dish. Anyone comes near it, you're a bit like, get away.
It's good to know. It makes me feel better knowing that I'm not the only one that went through that type of stuff. Because sometimes you feel like you're the only one. But it's always good to hear that you're not, almost. AJ, have you got any other questions?
Yeah, I think we've discussed a lot of what I wanted to discuss with regards to sort of where you're currently at, and or almost like your background and the sort of leading us up to sort of now. But I'm interested as well into sort of what you're looking to do in the future. Obviously, we don't know whether you're going to be allowed to prep again or not, considering how you handled this one. But I'm interested to know, obviously, you've got the DFAC Pro card, you've got the WNBF Pro card. Where do you see yourself primarily competing in the future? Do you see yourself still doing both? Obviously, there are some, potential political sides with either, because, I know that, BNBF had a relationship with the WNBF and that sort of broke ways. But, with this podcast, it's almost like we want to just support natural bodybuilding in general. And it's really sort of refreshing for us to sort of see that you compete with both. But ultimately, you're an athlete and you want to compete with the best of the best with the best opportunities. So what do you see yourself doing next time round? Do you see yourself doing both again? What's the plan?
Well, yeah, I'd say I'd like to do both. I've not fallen out with any federation. I wasn't really aware of the politics between them that much. I just thought it was fine to compete with both.
There is, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to compete with both. I've got no real affiliation with either. I think they're both the best federations, run by really nice people. I'd like to do the DFAC Pro again, and obviously WNBF Worlds. I think that you've got to compete every 2 years as a pro with WNBF, which puts a bit of pressure on me, because if I do push my weight up, it'll be a long diet again. And possibly with the DFAC, there's no pressure to compete every 2 years. You can have a good few years off if you wanted. But yeah, I'll definitely stick with them both. I even thought just recently, a few people have been turning to the dark side. I just thought, maybe I should try like steroids and things like that. But I don't know. I just want to see how I do for another season, then maybe consider it. But that's just a bit of a minefield for me. I'm 35.
35, yeah. I mean, if you did go down that route, what would your goal be? Obviously you've achieved natural pro status, and I think, if I was you in your position, like, so for example, I imagine when I manage to achieve that status, I'd like to win a pro world title. Is that something you'd like to do before you even considered going down the dark side route, or is there something about going down the assisted route that really motivates you?
Well, obviously the ultimates like Phil Heath and everyone like that. So it was only just a passing thought in my head. I just thought it's an option, but I don't know enough about it. It'll be expensive. Obviously there's health issues to think about. But I don't know. I'd like to compete again and then assess. I think my testosterone's high anyway. I had to do like urine tests, and they said you've got a testosterone ratio 1:4, which is relatively high. So naturally, my testosterone's high. But it's something I might just want to consider later.
Sure. I think also, with regards to competing, I think there's a lot of pressure in the professional ranks to sort of come up as a good UK amateur and to do well. So like, how did you feel when at Worlds you didn't end up placing? What's your sort of like real emotion about that? Because you came off a pretty significant high of coming second at DFAC, Britain, winning your pro card. Like, you were so used to winning. So how was it going from winning everything pretty much to not placing at all? Like, what was that emotion like?
Well, it were humbling. Looking at the pictures, I didn't look at my best, and the standard at the Worlds was the best I've ever seen. So the other guys were a lot better than me. But it does fuel you a lot. You learn more from your losses than your wins, and it does give you more motivation. So I went away just thinking, I can improve. But I've always motivated anyway, but I'd definitely like to give it another shot. I competed against the likes of David Kay at the Pro Grand Prix. People said I pushed him close, but I've seen the pictures, just literally every single pose he had me. But, it's good to push him close because he's like one of the best ever.
Yeah.
But it'd be great to just come back again and maybe look better than I did this year and push people like that a bit closer. And obviously, if I do compete at Worlds, just finishing top 5 will be unbelievable.
Yeah. And I think obviously with that in your head, I think what needs to be recognised is when you're at your best. And obviously you said to George that potentially the UK DFBA finals was your best. So it would be a case of, I think at the Northern you looked fucking immense as well, to be honest. Like, thought that the fullness was like perfect and the muscularity was all there. And by the time you had got to Worlds, like you'd held fully striated glutes for must have been 3 months, 2-3 months. Must have been like September all the way to November. Yeah, so you would have held them for like 3 months, which is crazy. So I think, it shows that when you've got goals that, are as high as yours and you're competing at that sort of level, it takes a very strategical approach to your prep to look your best when it matters. Because ultimately, like, you did look your best when it mattered, but at the same time, it would have been nice to have been able to hold that little bit more for the Worlds. But yeah, in terms of your off season at the moment, where are sort of calories at, and do you feel like you're in a pretty solid position at the moment? Is there anything that at the moment you're trying to sort of work on apart from the food focus?
Well, I'm not actually tracking my diet. Like I say, it's probably over 6,000 calories. In terms of my weak parts, I'd like bigger lats because I don't do normal deadlifts. Well done with you, 220 deadlifts today. I do sumo deadlifts, which more like they prioritize the glutes more than the back. So I'm going to try and do more conventional deadlifts, build a bigger back, get better hamstrings. So my hamstrings were a weak point. They even said it at the DFAC Pro show that I had shredded glutes but not shredded hamstrings, which is a rare combo. So I need to do more
tissue there.
Yeah, more things like stiff leg deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, which I've just never done really. So I've incorporated them. It were always just hamstring curls, like sat down and led down. I never did any like stiff leg. But to be honest, my normal deadlift is a bit like a stiff leg deadlift because my technique's not great. So
not really
it did work my hamstring. Yeah.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that your hips have to start high. Sometimes like Keithy's deadlift is like almost like a fucking stiff leg. Like that's not bad form. It's just where his hips have to start. Because if he started them any lower, his hips would just shoot up to that position. But yeah, I think with regards to the hamstrings, the RDLs and the stiff legs would be what you need, because right now you've actually in the side poses, you've got, in my opinion, like a good amount of hamstring tissue, but it's just the density of that muscle, because that's why you're not getting the actual sort of detail and the actual sort of cuts to the hamstrings. It's because there's not enough muscle density there. That usually is the case with an underdeveloped muscle, is that you won't get the nasty sort of striated look if it's just not dense enough.
Like David Kay's got. So again, like I got the pictures, and you look at yourself alongside the likes of David Kay, and you just think, well, he's got that, I want that, and his hamstrings are unbelievable. So if I get hamstrings like that, I'd be very happy.
It's also I think it's about knowing how to connect with them in the pose, because I find it quite difficult myself to like turn on my hamstrings when I'm in a rear pose. It's almost like trying to think about, it's like dragging the floor a little bit and curling up your toes and like trying to imagine like doing like a leg curl. But it's very difficult when you're trying to flex everything else all at the same time. So
it is. Well, I got told that natural bodybuilding is all about shredded glutes, and first time I practiced like the back double bicep, my leg were like fully straight. And that's why Dawn Roberts, she was in the crowd at the British finals for the BNBF. She messaged me saying, "Oh, you need to work on your posing. You keep straightening your leg on that back double bicep. You need to bend it so you get your hamstrings in." But I just thought, well, that's the best way of tensing glutes. So possibly I just got into bad habits. I've learned how to connect with glutes before my hamstrings. So I'll just maybe keep tensing my hamstrings and just working on them, and hopefully they'll look better next time.
Yeah, that was with me. Like the BNBF, I was so used to tucking my glutes, practicing posing like that when you do compete in the BNBF, they don't like the tucked glutes look, and it's really hard to pose in a different way when you're so regiment and routine with how you've been posing for the last God knows how long. I definitely struggled with that as well.
Well, I changed that pose. I used to do the same as you. So I used to tuck in, and then I saw the whole debate about the scared dog. I thought, well, I best practice it the other way. And it actually makes my hamstrings look better when I do, like when I arch my back and I don't tense my glutes, but you don't see the glutes. So I think the way around it is just to squeeze the glutes before you go into it, just to show that you've got the striations there, then arch your back and not do the scared dog.
Yeah. I think with glutes your size as well, you don't really need to tuck them that hard, because I remember seeing like your back relaxed, and I know that you tilted your pelvis back like a little bit in the back relaxed. It makes your glutes look even bigger because you obviously bring them closer to the judges and give them better shape. Makes your back look wider, and you've still got crazy glute detail because you're like, it's not like you're tucking them like at the top of a hip thrust, but you're almost touching like tension on them. And I do actually think like the whole scared dog thing is a bit of an issue. Like I think a lot of people's backs would look better if they tilted their pelvis back a little bit, not loads, but just a little bit, enough to sort of create more shape, because it does definitely give more emphasis to the lats, and the back poses definitely look a little bit better with it. Because I did it. I got, I think it was 2014, I think, when I did my first show, or maybe even 2015 when I won my first show as a teen. I remember Vicky commented on one of my Instagram posts like afterwards saying like, fix the scared dog. And I like asked her what it was about, and then she told me, and I fixed it, and like then ever since then when I compete with the BNBF, I've always done my hips tilted back. But in 2017, I didn't have enough glute muscle to really get any detail on my glutes by tilting them back. So hopefully I've got a bit more of an arse now and it'll look a bit better.
It's just a case of practicing, isn't it, really? Just so I used to record myself every morning and just practice the poses, see how they look, and just do what looks best on you. I think Ben Howard, he used to squeeze his glutes on most poses.
He tucks them right in, yeah. He tucks
them in, and obviously he's one of the best around as well. So it's just what works for you, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
Final question from me. Just have you got any questions? Have you got any goals that you want to achieve outside of bodybuilding in 2020, or anything inside of bodybuilding as well? Any goals?
Well, I'd love to prep someone. I've never prepped anyone to compete themselves. I work mostly with general population. So I think this year, spend a lot of time with my family and just focus on getting results with clients. So I was fortunate enough towards the end of my prep just to stop doing the PT sessions. So I said to my clients who I owed sessions to, can we postpone these until after my show? And I just like carried on with online coaching. So that were a bonus. But now that I've got loads of energy, I could do loads of PT sessions and hopefully get loads of results. And like I say, ultimately, I'd love to prep someone and, do well as a prep coach.
Yeah, sure. And anything out? Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Would you like to judge at any point? Because I know that a lot of professionals end up on the judging panel. Is that something you'd potentially like to do as well?
Yeah, definitely something which I've thought about, but I've not messaged Vicky or Lee about it. I'll be watching most of the shows next year for both federations, and I might even just ask if they need any help. But judging would be great, just so you know what they're looking for, so it'll help your development as an actual bodybuilder. Because, to be honest, I'm not fully 100% of the criteria that they're looking for. I remember like doing a side chest pose, and that first posing instructor said, like I said, can I tense my abs when I do this because it looks really good? And he said, no, it's a side chest pose. They're looking at your chest, they're not looking at your abs. So it is good just to learn the criteria and being a judge would be great. It would.
Is there anything outside of bodybuilding, like next year, maybe, a holiday? Because obviously on prep, trying to get a holiday in it's a nightmare. Anything in your personal life which like to do at all?
Yeah, so we are going to book a holiday. We're just going to wait till January. Obviously, we've got a 1-year-old, so we don't want to travel too far on plane. So we're thinking somewhere simple like Tenerife. It'll be our first family holiday, so that'll be really good. It's definitely hard to live that normal life and go on holidays when you're prepping. We've got a holiday lined up. just more social occasions, restaurants. Like tonight, watching Jumanji, and then I want to go for a curry after it, which I couldn't do before. It's just if Brog wants to get a curry because she's not the biggest fan. But just having that freedom's a bit of a luxury, really.
Yeah.
Jumanji's a fucking great film, by the way. You're in for an absolute treat. So good.
Well, again, it's following your stories. AJ says Jumanji's 10 out of 10. We've got to go and watch it.
I really should have a discount code for more of these things. I've got,
Yeah.
On that note, me and Danny have just invested in the Cineworld cards because we go so often as that's like our primary date night because it doesn't involve like, necessarily going sky over macros, or it's something we can keep up during prep. And we like going to the movies, switching off. It's the only situation as well where we both put away our phones completely. So I think we paid like 18 quid, and we just we'll go like once, twice a week, whatever. Saves you a bit of cash. So yeah, pro tip, get a Cineworld card. So yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's pretty much all we need to talk about today, unless you've got anything else to add, Ben, or I think that's pretty much everything, right?
No, that's fine. Thanks for having me on. Like I say, if someone told me I'd be on a podcast with you and George, like the people I were looking up to, it was brilliant. So it's been a good year, and this is a good finisher for it.
Oh, mate, like honestly, like it's the same. It's the same for us. Like we're massive fans of you, and we look up to you massively. I think it's crazy for us to think that you look up to us a little bit, because we're in the hierarchy of natural bodybuilding, quite a little bit away behind you, mate. But it's very nice to hear that. So we'll keep doing what we do.
Yeah, and always remember that you was on our podcast first.
Yeah,
always remember that.
Cool. So, and also Ben, like if someone does listen to this and wants to contact you for like online coaching or things like, I want Ben as my coach for my prep because you'd love to prep someone, and you're more than in a position to be able to do that. So I can definitely give my recommendation to someone that's listening that wants a good prep coach. So how do they contact you? Is the best way Instagram or email or however?
I use Instagram the most. I've got a website. I've got a YouTube account, which I don't really use much, but next time I do a prep, I will be documenting the journey a lot more on YouTube. I've got Twitter, and it's Ben Lloyd Fitness on all those. And I've got a Facebook page as well. So I've just kept the name the same on all platforms. Ben Lloyd Fitness. I'd say Instagram's the best one. That's the one I use the most.
Okay, cool. All right. Thanks very much, guys. And everyone who listened, thank you very much. If I don't edit the first bit out, then I apologize. Hopefully I do. I might not though. All right, guys. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.